Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Christopher Boyan, and I'm the owner of AlignLife Chiropractic and Natural Health Center here in Asheville. And I can't tell you how super excited I am to be here. Way back when, in January, I had the opportunity to meet Sean and Patrick and Laura, and we came up with this idea, and we were talking about a bunch of things. So today's the first talk in Life by Your Design, and the topic is your home making you sick? So what I'd like to ask for all of you to do right now is just close your eyes for me, and I want to picture yourself 75 years young. You're living in the house of your dreams with these breathtaking views here in Asheville. You've worked your entire life to get there. You go hiking every day in the Asheville area and get to see 250 of the most magical waterfalls every day. You have enough energy to do what you love as much as you want to do. Your family and their grandchildren and children come visit you and stay with you all the time. You are the epitome of strength, youth, and vitality to all of your community, and you have the ease of mind to know that your strong health is always going to be there for you. Now, think about what happens inside the house. We put all this effort into building our house, but what happens inside the house? And this is what Sean and Patrick and I talked about with Atelier Masson and what they're all about and what we're going to talk to you about today. Think about the typical morning. We lay in a bed and we have Wi-Fi in our home, so we're getting a lot of electromagnetic frequencies going on. The mattress we lay on is filled with chemicals. We have synthetic fibers on our sheets that are non-native to us. We also, first thing we do is get on the cell phone. And then we start scrolling and seeing the Facebook, and we're getting angry about the posts, and then we check the email, we're getting really jacked up. Then we transition ourselves over into the shower, and we turn the water faucet on, and the water starts streaming down on us, and we take the traditional wash, and our pores are opening up from the hot air, and these chemicals are just pouring into our body, right? And now the steam's coming up in the shower, and we're also breathing in the arsenic and the fluoride into our lungs, into our body. As soon as we step out of the shower, we step onto the floor that we cleaned with these chemicals that are non-native, and our feet are very porous and are absorbing that all the way up into us. And the crazy part about all of this is we haven't even gotten into the car yet, in the garage with the carbon monoxide, and started our day. This is a typical morning for everybody, never mind you in your dream home. So the reason I want to talk to you tonight, I want to tell you why, and I'm going to tell you what I'm not going to do. And I want to give some insight into a topic that should be important to all of us, and that is the health of our home. We're going to talk about 3 aspects of our home, and I'm going to give you some tips about that. And I want you to take a pen and paper out right now and be able to write this down. Number one thing I want you to stop doing is using deodorant with aluminum in it. The reason why is that when our pores are opened up and we put the deodorant on, we're giving ourselves a heavy dose of toxic metals right away, every morning. It's super dangerous. I'm not saying don't use deodorant. You might not have too many friends at lunch, but I want you to stop using deodorant with aluminum because it's a toxic metal for your body that you cannot get out. The second thing I want you to stop doing is cleaning your floors with chemicals, because it's dangerous not only for you, but when your grandchildren come to visit, they play on the floor, and that gives them some problems. The reason that this is so important is that it's not only going to affect you and your life of how you function, but it's also going to prevent the need for any drugs or surgeries later on in your life. 2 things I want you to take away from tonight. Health and wellness is more than a job to me, and when I really, really, really want you to consider me as a resource to you. When you're considering getting into chiropractic care or not, whether you're talking to a friend that has a condition that we may be able to help, or you're just sitting around the campfire of your beautifully built custom home here in Asheville with a great view, if the issue of health comes up, I want you to be the first person to be thankful of that. What I'm not going to do tonight is what a lot of my other healthcare colleagues like to do, that beg for talks at companies, books, stores, and groups. There's no special offer, okay? At the end, there's going to be no life-changing deal with a high-pressure sales pitch, okay? What I am going to do is give you a thank you. And my thank you for you for showing up tonight is a goodie bag. And in that goodie bag is a water bottle, a hot and cold pack, and some information how to contact us if you did want to move forward with anything in that light. Now, my wife thinks a little different. She thinks that there should be financial compensation for sitting here listening to me. But unfortunately for you, there would be no money in that goodie bag. What I do need from you tonight is a little bit of participation, okay? So if we think about somebody that goes to the gym, they get a membership and they go once or twice a week. But then there's someone else that sells out, goes 5 days a week, and then they also do all the lifestyle changes and break the bad habits. So tonight, if I ask a question, give me some energy. I'd really appreciate that. So in my life, I remember there was one night that I felt there was like 50 pounds of pressure on my chest. It was like breathing through a straw. Has anybody ever had some trouble breathing or feeling pressure? Yeah, right? It's probably one of the most scariest things in your life. And I distinctly remember my mom yelling at my dad on the phone, who was away on a hunting trip, that he needed to come home. And that night on the way to the hospital, I thought that I was a goner, that I wasn't gonna make it through. And unfortunately, this was many nights in my life. As you see, I had an injury at birth where they tugged me out with forceps and it caused a bone in my neck to shift that gave me chronic asthma and allergies my entire life. Being my pediatrician's worst case, in and out of the hospital, in and out of his house, always taking a pill or a shot to cover up what was going on. And if that wasn't bad enough, what kid doesn't want a dog, right? I could distinctly remember I couldn't go to people's homes because of the pet dander. I'd walk in and break out in hives. And I just couldn't even pet a dog. I would have that so much. So this topic tonight is very important, and hopefully it'll be important to you or someone that you care about. How many people here are concerned about the air quality in their home? And how many people would be willing to do something about it if they knew something different? Okay? Every year, the EPA continually ranks indoor air quality as a top 5 danger. Does anyone have an idea of why that happens like that? What might be the danger? I'm going to tell you it's something that surrounds your house. It is your kitchen cabinets, it's your desk, it's your child's crib. They're all made of compressed wood. Now, it's not the compressed wood, it's the glues that hold it together that they're made with formaldehyde. Now, everyone in this room is smart enough to know to stay away from formaldehyde, but how in the world is the air quality in your house still poor if we know this? And that's because what's in the compressed wood and things like that. So how do we combat this problem? And this is where Atelier Masson has done a great job. They really well thought out how to design your home from the inside out, because they already did the outside. Now we got to do the inside. Natural wood, if and when possible, is the best option because there's no formaldehydes in there. Now, that's not always going to be possible for budget reasons, different reasons. So there's two things when we do have to consider compressed wood is we want to make sure that it's past the California Air Resource Center guidelines. And number 2 is the type of glue. And this is something you could ask your contractor, your interior designer. There's 2 types of major glues. One is a phenol and one is a urea. The urea one is really bad. So think of urine, urea, really bad. Okay, so we want to say, hey, is that a phenol glue? That'll be less of a toxin for you. Now, this is really simple advice for the tip. This time of year, we want to open up the windows of the house and let that fresh ionized mountain air come in. And even in the winter, you want to get that fresh air rolling in, okay? As the temperatures change and humidity and temperature rise, the off-gassing can tend to be more intense. So we want to keep our house at a consistent temperature to mediate that. Sometimes there's open edges on things that are made of compressed wood, so we can work with our contractors to seal those open edges up, okay? Now, this next one is something I love. We have the ability to clean our air. Everybody ever smell the air after it rains? It smells like that Irish mist, so to say. Well, that's the smell of ozonation. It's the oxygen scrubbing the earth. It's the third molecule, O2, O3 is ozone, scrubbing the earth. They make devices called ozonators that we can spray in our home and do this periodically, because if you do it every day, it'll take inorganic material and ruin it. So every couple months, every season, you can ozonate, and that will help take out the toxic fumes in your house. And because we do live in this tropical rainforest called Asheville, North Carolina, we always don't get sunlight on certain parts of our home, so mold is a big deal. and you always can get your house tested for mold because you can be breathing it in and it can be in your home and be very dangerous for you. Now, what separates our home from any primitive structure previously built in humanity? Does anybody have an idea? Exactly. Indoor plumbing, running water, right? That's what it's all about. That's where we have our cozy little home, because we don't have to go to the outhouse. We don't have to go to the river. The water comes in our home. Now, what we don't realize is that the water that comes through the rain goes through everything we do. So the carbon monoxide, the dust, the dirt, and it creates what we call acid rain. Now, if you look at this picture here on that pipe, that's called corrosion. And it didn't just start out like that. Nobody would put that in your house, right? But what happened was the acids in the water corroded that pipe to look like that. And there's, more often than not, that's what the water pipes look for in people's houses, those cloisters and some of the heavy metal toxins. Because when the acid rain comes, then it hits the soil that's had all the glyphosates, fertilizers, and it leaches. And what we don't know is that city tap water is only tested for certain things. So, you know, we have these agricultural pollutants and pesticides in the water. We have plastics, solvents, even pharmaceuticals get flushed down the drain and do not get taken out. So you can get all the side effects of someone else's pharmaceuticals that they excreted into the city water that didn't get cleaned out. When they did a test of national tap water, there's over 260 contaminants. 141 of them are not tested for in most city water systems that could still be there for you. You can see here, 51 are linked to cancer, 41 reproductive toxicity. I can't tell you in my practice how many people I meet that are struggling to have children. And this is a direct result because our bodies are made of 70% water, just like the earth is made. The ratio is the same for earth, is 70% water. And it's the quality of our water that affects our life and our organs. 36 developmental toxicities. We all know that the cost of autism is through the roof. That's going on. And 16 immune system functions. And after this year, we're not going to talk about the immune system right now. So what do? We have to think back to how nature designed the water to be. Now, let me go over here. Now this water running over these rocks goes back and forth, back and forth. It's creating energy. It's creating a 3D structure, but it's also getting mineralized as it goes over the rocks. The water's getting, they call that a structured water. Now, most people know they have bad water. What do? They go to Ingles, they pick up some bottled water. I think we all can say that bottled water is pretty much an environmental disaster, right? I grew up with, there was no bottled water. And everyone's carrying around a plastic bottle. And what happens to all the plastic bottles? I don't know, they just disappear, right? But it's definitely an environmental footprint that we don't want to be associated with. And there's over 25,000 chemicals, never mind the heat of the leachings of the plastic. We talked about tap water, so most of the water is treated to make it drinkable, but it's also lifeless. It's coming from that corroded pipe, or now even a PVC pipe, right? It's just dead. There's no nutrients in it. There's no structure, just dead, flat water. Now we think about what's in it. We have acids, sulfuric, nitric, even hydrochloric acids. These are things that even water purification systems cannot get out. There's contaminants still left in the water even after it's been treated. We have heavy metals that we spoke about before, chloride, chlorine, and even some disinfectants. So when I sit down and talk to most people, what do? Like, hey, I just spent $4,000 on a reverse osmosis system. I say, hey, I think that's great. Let's test your water. Now you got to remember, the reverse osmosis is going to clean out the contaminants, but if I was to test that water for total dissolved solids, the acids are still going to be in there. So this is active live water that's going to make you rust in and out. Because when we think of the body, when you hear carotid artery disease, right, it's clogging of the arteries, your pipes are rusting in your body, and it has to do from your water not being structured properly. And even osteoporosis, people lose bone mass because they need calcium, but in order to absorb water that's lifeless, we have to add minerals to it, and it takes it from our bones so that we can actually use the water in our body, and that's why osteoporosis is on the rise. So when it says divide of bicarbonate, salts, and chloride, bicarbonates is how nature designed the water to be able for us to digest it, and the bicarbonates are important because they actually neutralize the heavy metals in the water. The next most popular people like, hey, I got a filter for my refrigerator, and what's in there is a little piece of carbon, okay? And it's only at one stage, so it's not sufficient enough, nor is there enough pressure going through there to clean the water, and it basically is just contaminated acid water. So my tips for that is to get your water tested for dissolved solids is the number one thing. It's a little meter for you. And we want a system that revitalizes the water. So that means the structure, we want those bicarbonate minerals in there, magnesium bicarbonate and things like that. We want the water to be vortex, so a 3D structure like it came down from those mountains, okay? And then we want it to be charged. We want some alkalinity to the water and then some hydrogen to soup it up. Now, if this information is hitting home with you, I want you to opt in. I have a gift for you. I got some more information about different water systems. So you can pound water to 828-820-2121. I'd love to send that information to you and set up with a consult and talk to you about what's going on in the water in your house, okay? Now, the next part I want to talk about is where we sleep. People ask me, the number one question I get all the time, hey doc, what about my mattress? And then they start telling me what they're looking at, and I find out these things cost more than a car. $10,000 for a mattress. And for $10,000, this thing remembers your body. And it takes a recording of how you sleep, and it's got Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. And to me, that's just creepy. No offense to anybody, but anything that's going to remember my biological input creeps me out a little bit. I want to sleep with autonomy. Now, when I tell them that most commercial mattresses are toxic to them, they look at me like I'm crazy because they don't realize how much time they actually spend in their bed. And I think the average person sleeps about 8 hours, right? So that's about a third of your day is spent in your bed. So now you're breathing in some of those chemicals, okay? So the number one chemical in most beds is a polyurethane. And the polyurethanes are known to reach petroleum, which is an oil, right? And volatile organic compounds. This is why most organic mattress makers choose wool, because it's a natural organic fiber, and they don't have to use any flame retardant chemicals on it. So by law, most commercial mattress makers are required to use flame retardants, and I couldn't remember the name, so I had to write them down here because they are a mouthful. And this is what each adult gets every time they sleep on a mattress like this. Did anyone ever not feel good when they slept in a hotel? Right? Not so good. So these are some of the things that can be happening there. We have antimony, which is a known carcinogen and causes lung tumors in rats. We have boric acid. Boric acid is used in roach killer. You ever smell roach killer? That's what's actually placed on these mattresses. And then we have decarboxyphenol oxide. It causes liver tumors and reproductive problems. So not only are we getting reproductive problems from our waters, we're actually getting it from our mattress too. Is everything kind of making sense a little bit in this toxic morning of how things go? And then we have the adhesives. Does anybody know how many pounds of glue goes into one mattress? Guess 10. 10 pounds of glue. That's the weight of a bowling ball. Anybody ever move a mattress? Pretty much dead weight, right? And that is what's holding the mattress together, is that glue. And in that glue is also formaldehyde, which we already learned about. And we have some of these other chemicals, as methylene chloride. It's actually in paint stripper. Anybody smell paint stripper and want to pass out? It's like smelling a magic marker. It's toxic. And L-propyl bromide, which is another volatile organic compound, causing, again, reproductive toxins. And we have acetone, which is laced with formaldehydes. So another question I get is like, well, that's all great, but what do I do? So there's two standards to look for. The GOATS and the GOALS, and it's the Global Organic Textile Standard. And then there's the Global Organic Latex Standard. So some beds can be made of latex and still be healthy. So the tip for the day, if and when you can, is choose wool, okay? And the top 3 mattresses that I do recommend are My Green mattress, the Naturepedic, and also the Avocado mattress. So a lot of folks have asked me, how does today's topic relate to what we do in our practice? When we're talking about how sick is our home. In our practice, we focus on what we call a structural correction. Many conditions such as headaches, muscle tension in the neck, in the back, or dizziness are related to some kind of structural abnormality. And the way that we can detect a structural abnormality is through our comprehensive chiropractic correction examination. And in that includes a complete set of structural correction motion images. We actually take a picture of your spine moving live in motion. We'll do an infrared analysis. We also do a digital posture scan, and we also check out any orthopedic or neurological tests for you. And without a reason of a doubt, this will detect a structural abnormality and be able to give us a prediction of how we can not only improve but also resolve what's going on for you. And then we bring you back for a consultation to customize a care plan for you in that light. So what I really want to leave to you today is these 3 tips, and these are the most important things, okay? They're very simple to apply, and you're going to get a high return on investment out of that. Structured water, we want to make sure we have some structured water, magnesium bicarbonate. We want to ozonate the air, and when we choose bedding, we want natural and organic. So at this time, I'd just like to say thank you all for attending. I really appreciate your participation, and please be aware that consultations in our office are always complimentary. All it is a conversation, there's no commitment. I'd love to talk to each and every one of you about your health or any other questions you might have had about this presentation. Now, I'm going to close with this story here, is that my best friend, every year for his birthday, wrote this huge bucket list of things that he wanted to do for his birthday. And it was wild. He was an awesome person. He worked with reclaimed wood, built custom furniture, was a real life of the party. I've known him since 2nd grade. He's my best friend. This year for his birthday, the list was real small, and he didn't get the chance to write it. And it says his health, and his mom wrote it because he passed away in his sleep. And I can guarantee he passed away from working on chemicals, sleeping on a mattress, and having sleep apnea. And it hurts my heart that we buried him a year ago this past April, and we could have saved his life with this information. And I can't stress enough that the lines of disease are coming for you. We have heart disease, we have lung disease, and we have cancer. And we have this opportunity with this information, not only change your life, but the life of your grandkids, and you can enjoy that dream home that you built here in Asheville. I want to give mad props to Attila, Masan, Sean, Laura, Patrick, and all the staff here for what they have going on. This is an amazing place. You got to come check them out, and thank you.